So we have a couple of minutes before we start with Hiep Tran from the Capital Group is joining us live from Los Angeles. So we're going back across the Atlantic from Amsterdam to Los Angeles. Hiep is with the Capital Group and is going to talk about how they've deployed our Nexus Lifecycle products within their environment, how they're managing DevSecOps at scale across more than 1,000 applications today within their environment, the business use cases for putting that together, the challenges with putting their practices, DevSecOps practices together, and how they've overcome some of those. So we'll be on break for just a minute or so, and then or a couple of minutes until we get to, I think the starting time is 11:45. So if you'll be patient, we will be back with you soon. And I will, of course, be live on Slack here if anyone has any questions for me. Maybe before the next session starts, I'll put the survey deck live there so that people can see it. And Stefan and Weeby, if you can hear me and you have an opportunity to upload your deck into the Slack channel for people to see, I think that would be greatly appreciated as well. So I will be back in a minute with Hiep, and we'll see you soon.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, we are back live. Hiep Tran is on the line. We're going to get. We've been chatting back and forth on Slack. So, Hiep, when you can hear me, if you can unlock or unmute your microphone, we can have you join us here. You are unmuted. So let's do a quick sound check. It sounds like I can hear you.
Hey, Derek. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. You want to share your screen, and we can just make sure that that works and get your slides available. Okay, and let me get your slides presented. Okay, so I can see your slides in the full screen here. So I did a little introduction before the break, but as we're going to break each of these individual or sessions up into individual sessions for recording playback later, let me just introduce you now. So Hiep Tran is at the Capital Group, Senior Technology Lead, DevSecOps Solution Engineer at Capital Group. I'm really excited to see this presentation. One, because I haven't seen it at any of the conferences that I've been at lately. So it's always nice to see new presentations, new content out there to hear what people are doing with DevSecOps, especially at scale where you have over 1,000 apps within your environment that you're going to manage. So I think the lessons learned here, some of the business use cases that Hiep is going to cover, as well as some of the challenges that they have within their organization, as everyone does in their DevSecOps journey, and covering some of those. So I'm super excited to hear this conversation from Hiep live from Los Angeles. So we just crossed the ocean back from ABN AMRO in Amsterdam to Los Angeles with Hiep at Capital Group. And I'm going to hand it over to Hiep to get started. I'm going to take some notes, and we'll also look forward to seeing Hiep in the Slack channel. And I already see Michael Alves is on stage as the next presentation coming up after Hiep. So you'll definitely want to continue to stay tuned, after for the next presentation coming up. So Hiep, without further ado, let me hand it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Derek, for the introduction. Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Hiep Tran. I'm a senior technology lead at Capital Group, and it's my honor to be here today to walk you through our journey of implementing our CI/CD pipeline with the Nexus platform to enable DevSecOps. So before I get started on our implementation details, I want to provide some background on our current landscape of our portfolio stack and what our current pipeline looks like. So we have over 300 applications based on 4 main technologies: Python, .NET, Java, and Angular. These 400 applications also integrate with various database platform as well as the middleware platform, which have over 1,000 components. So these 1,000 components are currently on our CI/CD pipeline. Our pipeline leverage heavily on the Atlassian stack. We use Confluence for collaboration and requirement gatherings. We use Jira for Scrum, Agile, and task tracking. For Git hosted repository, we use Bitbucket server. Our CI/CD main engine is Bamboo. We use the Nexus repository to manage artifacts and libraries. And recently, we integrate Nexus firewall and lifecycle into our pipelines to provide third-party libraries scanning. We have Sonatype for continuous code queries, White Hat for SAS scannings, and at the back end of our pipeline, we leverage ZBL Labs, Excel deploy to do the deployment to various technology and platform, and Excel release for release management workflow. We're starting to shift toward converting our application portfolio to the Docker and container platform. So we're building out a new CI/CD pipeline using Jenkins as a main engine. So for the last 8 years or so, we have a lot of challenges within our pipeline or our build CI/CD environments. We don't have a proxy repository. We only hosted the repository inside the Nexus repository, and these are for good reason, because there's no governance process around it. There's no policy enforcement, and we don't want anybody to use any version of library or component out there. And this is the only way to prevent people from using bad components. Because of this process, it's introduced a manual upload process for any new library or component that the developer wants to use. They have to follow a ticketing system process to upload libraries. And then, if you run into a transitive dependency nightmare, that's why you keep following the ticketing process, which is very inefficient, costly, and cause loss of productivity. This also causes low morale from the development communities. There's low uses of the Nexus repository. Most of the time, if they want to use new library, they just work around the process of checking that into source control and reference that that's library that we're checking into source doing that build as part of that build process instead of referencing from the Nexus repository. We don't have no informed decision. The developer don't know what our current standard, which version they just be using. So most of the time, the application stack are using all outdated technology. There's no metrics or reportings. We don't know what teams are using, what version or which components. And then, as at any time there is a new critical CV, for example, struct, we will have to use really low scanning tech, like scanning the source control as well as scanning build logs, trying to figure out what version or what component application team are using. Those processes are not very accurate and not efficient at all. And then we don't have no monitoring to the application that currently running in prod. So if there's a new vulnerability that comes up, we're not being proactive on trying to remediate. So with that, with those challenges, we set our business objective to be, we want the next next version of our pipeline to be able to vet all the components that are gonna come into our environment. We want to have some policy enforcement around what kind of component libraries application teams should be using. We want to shift left, empower the developer to make informed decisions from within the IDE, and instead of waiting to the last minute when the build about to go to prod, then they find out that they're using some bad components. We want to boost productivity and reduce costs, so we wanted to automate this whole workflow inside of CI/CD pipeline. So we want to follow DevSecOps best practices, as well as providing some kind of metrics so that we can continuously improve our code quality. And then continuous monitoring, we want to continuous monitor production app to react quickly and remediate any vulnerabilities or any CV that comes up. So with our implementations to all those objectives, we bring in the Nexus Firewall and Nexus Lifecycle. The Nexus Firewall, Nexus Lifecycle enable automatic policy enforcement. It blocks bad components from coming into our environment. It promotes creativity to our developer to be able to try new technology quickly and be able to turn around the time to market faster. And with the firewall and the Nexus lifecycle, we were able to implement the proxy repository out to the public repository, to Maven Central, NuGet galleries, and the NPM registry. And we were able to, all with the firewall and the lifecycle, also enable us to report on the uses of these components. So now we can run report and be aware of what the application team are using and have automatic scannings. We implement the ID integration with Nexus Lifecycle as well. So within their favorite IDE, the developers can quickly run the vetting process and go run through the policy, and they were able to make informed decision on which version or which component is approved, which one is not. And then we integrate the IQ scanning portion of the Nexus lifecycle into our CI/CD pipeline. So now every build, every release that going to all the environment will have this automatic IQ scanning for bad components, so that it will stop a build that introducing a bad version to the environment of an applications. And then we have continuous monitoring. So at midnight every day, the Nexus lifecycle rescan all the bill of material to detect if any new CV that happens, and then it would alert us so that we can remediate quickly. And also we build an automatic governance process for the remediation process. If there's any policy violations, or if the firewall was blocking any bad component, if continuous monitoring detect a new CV in our production app, it's automatically integrated with Jira to create a ticket to raise awareness for a governing body to react on it. So this is a high level of where we leverage the Nexus platform in our CI/CD pipeline. So we have the firewall that would block the public component from coming in to the Nexus repository. We have the developer in the IDEs interacting with Nexus lifecycle so that they can vet our component that they want to use. As soon as they enter a new library into the POM file, they're able to see right away which policy if this component is violating, and they can quickly use the Nexus lifecycle to pick the correct version or a different component that they want to use. And then as part of the CI, the build process would go to the repository, and the firewall will filter out if any component that the build want to bring in uses. And then we have, as part of the CD process, we automatically do IQ scanning on every packages that going out to all the environments. If any policy violation is detected, it would block the build and the releases from going out, and create a ticket on the dashboard so that team can react on it. And the lifecycle continuous monitoring also monitor the application in production, so that it can help us react quickly to any CVs that's just happened. And this is our governance workflow. So you can do an ID policy check from the Nexus repository. If it's not approved and the firewall filter it out, that based on some kind of blacklisted or using a bad component, a bad version, it will automatically create a ticket on Jira with automatic email a governing body to alert that a developer is trying to use a blacklisted component or something that's banned, and then the governing body can work with the developer to either approve it or reject the request or waive the policies, and this doesn't apply to the application. If the developer decide to use it anyway, even though it's not been approved or rejected, then our CI/CD pipeline will actually do another IQ scan before it deployed to the target environment. and that would, and if detect any violation as part of the scanning of the final package score now, it would email the developer to fail the bill, as well as create a JIRA ticket and alert the governing body as well to react on it. If the developer uses an approved component, it's go to the pipeline, it's deployed to prod, continuous monitoring run at midnight to rescan the bill of material. And if it detects any new vulnerabilities, it would create a JIRA ticket and also email the governing body to help the application team to remediate that quickly. So with any good system that you build, if you don't have a lot of uses of it, that's a failure. So we have over 1,000 build plan in Bamboo. So it's our goal to enable IQ scanning on all our apps in our CD pipeline with no involvement from the app teams and no impact to the pipelines. So this is our one for our onboarding. With that, we were able to leverage automations, REST API, Python, and Selenium to onboard of our over 1,000 components. So in order to onboard to the Nexus lifecycle, you need two parameters or two pieces of information. One is the application ID, and also the role and the entitlement, so that for that application, so that the user, the developers or the dev lead can go to the dashboard or the reporting engine from the UI to view the policy, as well as any information from the scanning. So we need those two pieces of information, and we know that Bamboo map one-to-one with the Nexus lifecycle from one application to application, and the application ID is actually is going to be passed from Bamboo as part of the IQ scan to figure out which application in Nexus lifecycle to upload the report to. So we know that we can get that information from Bamboo. We just need the entitlements and the role and the group, the AD group, with all the members who belong to the developer group, who belong to the dev leads, and that reside in our Bitbucket application. So we wrote a Python script that make the first REST API call. It would create Bamboo for the application names along with the app ID, and it would use the app ID to create Bitbucket to get the role and entitlement, and then we union the data to get the two parameters that Nexus lifecycle needs. And then the third call would be calling a REST API call to the Nexus lifecycle to onboard over 1,000 components into the onto the Nexus lifecycle, as well as having the correct team members and their role and entitlement without their involvement trying to get on. So the next part is to create additional step into our CI/CD pipeline. Bamboo REST API is limited to what action you actually could do. So we can really use a REST API. So if you want to use, you want another step to the Bamboo workflow, it's not as flexible as Jenkins, where you can have a Jenkins file. You have to manually go to the UI and edit the Bamboo build plan. So we were able to write another Python script that leverages Selenium that go to the front end of Bamboo and edit its individual plan at the additional steps to that CI/CD pipeline, and then it's going through several hours to enable automatic IQ scanning for over 1,000 apps. So what's next? We will continue to improve our current process of our governance to provide a smooth working workflow between the architecture team, the risk team, the license management team, as well as the apps team, to increase the speed of the remediation of the policy violations, as well as improve the quality of our code. And we started to convert our portfolio to the Docker and container platform, and Nexus is our choice for Docker registry. So we plan to have at least 3 Nexus registry in the Nexus repo, as well as build a promotion workflow on top of it, so that we can promote the Docker images from one registry to another, and then enable IQ scanning for Docker images as well. And then the important part is the Nexus platform run really well within the Docker container as well. So we actually started to convert hosting of the Nexus platform inside the Docker containers, so that we can scale up quickly and have high availability capabilities. Success stories. So when we implement this Nexus platform integration with our CI/CD pipeline, we were able to prevent 50 critical CV and license ban from going to prod. Struct, Spring.js, it's create really high morale within the organizations. The risk and architecture team are very happy now that they are equipped with report, so that they can managing the workflow governance of the component and the library. Managements are very satisfied that our builds are now having a high quality, as well as high security aspect coming from it. The developers are very excited now that they enable to try out new technology quickly, and they were able to be very productive. I think that's all I have for today. Thank you for listening in, and please continue the discussion, or if you have any Q&A for me, please feel free to send me a message on Slack. So thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your day.